Imagine you're facing the most difficult challenge of your life. You're under pressure, the world around you is chaotic, your thoughts are racing. And yet there's this calm, unshakable stillness inside of you. How is that even possible? This is the power of your mind. But before I tell you how to access it, let's first dive into what happens when we lose our cool. When life throws those curveballs, stress, fear, conflict, our natural reaction is often to panic, to become overwhelmed, to feel like we have no control. It's the fight or flight response taking over, hijacking your brain and body. But what if I told you that you can train yourself to not lose your cool in those moments? What if you could access a level of composure that allows you to think more clearly, make better decisions, and maintain control, no matter what life throws your way? The key to mastering this skill lies not in avoiding stress, but in learning how to control your response to it. Your mind and body are wired to react automatically to stress. In those intense moments, your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow, and your mind starts to spiral. This is your nervous system gearing up for battle. It's primal, it's fast, and in that moment, it feels like your whole world is out of control. But here's the thing, you don't have to let that initial surge of adrenaline dictate your response. The moment that surge happens, you have a choice. You can either let it run its course, escalating your stress, your anxiety, and your panic, or you can use a simple strategy to regain control and bring yourself back to a calm, focused state. It all comes down to how you train your mind. Most people have been taught to avoid stress or to ignore it. But the truth is, it's not stress itself that's harmful. It's how you manage your response to it. This is the real secret. When you can stay calm, you become an unstoppable force. How do you do this? Start with your breath. The first and most powerful tool in your toolkit is your breath. When stress hits, most people breathe in a shallow, rapid way, which only amplifies the stress response. But if you slow your breath down, specifically by inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly, you're signaling to your nervous system that everything is okay. You're telling your body, I am in control. I am not in danger. This trick activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest response, and counteracts the fight or flight reaction. But you can't just rely on your breath in the moment. It has to be trained. Imagine you're running a marathon, but you're only practicing the sprint. In order to stay calm in the middle of chaos, you need to practice stillness in times of peace. Every day, set aside a few minutes to focus solely on your breath. Close your eyes, calm your mind, and breathe slowly. With time, this becomes muscle memory. It's like building a muscle. You're training your mind and body to stay composed when the pressure comes. The next step is rewiring your mindset around stress itself. Most people view stress as an enemy. We associate stress with failure, with weakness, with being overwhelmed. But this view is not only inaccurate, it's also limiting. Stress is simply energy. It's the energy you need to rise to the occasion to perform at your highest level. The key is learning how to harness that energy. When you shift your mindset from seeing stress as a threat to seeing it as an opportunity, everything changes. Your ability to stay calm doesn't come from eliminating stress. It comes from changing your relationship with it. In every stressful situation, there's an opportunity to train your mind. You're being presented with a test. The question is, will you let your mind control you, or will you train your mind to control the situation? Now, let's talk about focus. One of the most powerful tools in staying calm is the ability to focus your attention on the present moment. When stress floods in, the natural reaction is to get caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. But those thoughts only amplify the stress. In those moments, center yourself. Focus on what's immediately in front of you. Ground yourself in the present. This single skill, being present, is a game changer when it comes to staying calm. But here's the catch. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill that you build day by day. You train it like you train any other skill, and it requires consistency. In fact, the more you practice staying calm in everyday situations, the more your brain will automatically shift to calm when stress arrives. So let me ask you this. How would your life change if you could stay calm in the middle of the storm? How would your decisions change? How would your relationships change? How would your health change? The truth is, when you master your mind in this way, you change everything. The ability to stay calm is not about avoiding stress. It's about controlling your response to it. It's about understanding that you have the power to choose how you react, no matter what happens. So remember this, Calm isn't something that happens to you. It's something you train yourself to become. Every breath, every moment of focus, every shift in perspective, it all adds up. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to tap into that stillness. And the more you master your mind, the more you unlock your true potential. Stress is not inherently bad. In fact, it is an essential part of human experience. It's the way our bodies and minds react to challenges, both big and small. Stress, at its core, is an evolutionary mechanism designed to help us survive and thrive in an unpredictable world. It primes us for action, sharpening our focus, heightening our senses, and motivating us to face obstacles head-on. Without stress, we would lack the drive to accomplish anything meaningful, to face adversity, or even to grow. But here's the thing, stress in itself isn't the problem. It's how we respond to it that can either empower us or derail us. The human body and mind are remarkably resilient, capable of handling a significant amount of stress without breaking down. The issue arises when we don't manage our reactions or allow stress to spiral out of control. When we perceive stress as a threat, our minds begin to go into overdrive. We feel overwhelmed, anxious, and paralyzed, and we start to lose our capacity to think clearly or act rationally. This is what we must learn to navigate. How to respond to stress in a way that aligns with our goals and sense of well-being, rather than letting it dictate our state of mind. One of the most powerful insights from neuroscience is that stress is not just a mental state, it's deeply physiological. When we face stress, our body activates the sympathetic nervous system, preparing us for action. This is the fight or flight response, and it serves a critical purpose. It's a biological system designed to help us face danger. But in today's world, many of the stressors we encounter are not life-threatening. We're not running from tigers or facing a physical battle. Instead, we're often dealing with work deadlines, financial pressures, relationship conflicts, or societal expectations. So, when we allow these stressors to overwhelm us, we're activating this ancient survival mechanism in situations that don't require a fight or flight response. The challenge is to recognize that not every stressful situation demands the same level of intensity. By acknowledging this, we can shift our mindset, understanding that stress is simply a signal, not a signal of danger, but a signal of opportunity. It's the opportunity to step up, to engage with the task at hand, and to practice mastering our reaction to it. Instead of succumbing to anxiety, we can choose to lean into the discomfort, accept it, and let it fuel our focus and clarity. One of the simplest yet most powerful we have to manage stress is the breath. It is a tool that is always with us, yet so often overlooked. We tend to take it for granted, breathing automatically without any conscious effort. But here's the incredible thing: your breath can influence your nervous system in profound ways. The way you breathe can either exacerbate the feeling of stress or calm it down almost instantly. When you consciously control your breath, you can directly signal your body that it is safe, even in the face of stress. This is where science comes into play. Our breath is intricately linked to the autonomic nervous system, the system that controls unconscious body functions, such as heart rate, digestion, and respiratory rate. When we're under stress, our sympathetic nervous system is activated and we start to breathe more rapidly and shallowly, which exacerbates feelings of anxiety and tension. But if we slow down our breath and deepen it, we trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming us down. This is the branch of the nervous system that promotes relaxation, reduces heart rate, and restores a sense of calm. When you intentionally breathe deeply, when you focus on elongating each breath, it's like sending a message to your body: we're okay. We're not in immediate danger. We can handle this. This can be especially useful in moments of acute stress, when you're feeling overwhelmed or faced with a situation that triggers your fight or flight response. Taking control of your breath allows you to take control of your physiological state, preventing your stress from spiraling out of control. In fact, breathing techniques such as deep diaphragmatic breathing or box breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold again for 4 seconds, have been shown to reduce the activation of the stress response and increase feelings of calm and focus. This is because these breathing patterns activate the vagus nerve, which is the primary nerve in the parasympathetic nervous system. As you slow your breath, you're essentially tapping into your body's natural ability to regulate itself. This isn't just a temporary fix. By making conscious breathing a regular practice, you can train your body to become more resilient to stress over time. The more you engage in breathwork, the more your brain rewires itself to remain calm in challenging situations. It becomes a skill, a way to stay grounded, centered, and clear no matter what life throws your way. To truly build the capacity to remain calm in moments of stress, you must practice it consistently, not just when things get chaotic, but in the calm moments as well. It's easy to think that we only need to focus on staying composed during a crisis, but the truth is that calmness is a skill that needs to be honed in everyday situations. If you wait until the storm hits to start practicing, it's already too late. The foundation of your calmness must be laid long before you face stress, in those quiet moments where you have the opportunity to train your mind. Think of it like training for a marathon. You don't wait until race day to start running. If you did, you'd be overwhelmed, exhausted, and likely fail to finish. Instead, you start with small, manageable runs and gradually build endurance. The same principle applies to mental training. If you only attempt to remain calm during stressful moments without having practiced in less intense situations, your brain will be caught off guard and unprepared. But when you regularly practice mindfulness, deep breathing, and focus, you are conditioning your nervous system to respond with calmness when the pressure is on. The key here is that calmness must be practiced during times of peace. You need to cultivate mental clarity and awareness during the moments when life isn't pushing you to your limits. This is where techniques like mindfulness meditation come into play. By taking a few minutes each day to sit in stillness, observe your thoughts without judgment, and breathe deeply, you are training your brain to return to a state of calm when stress arises. The more you practice maintaining your focus and awareness in a calm environment, the more efficiently you will be able to do the same in high-pressure situations. This doesn't mean you won't still feel stress or anxiety when challenges arise, but with consistent practice, your mind becomes more resilient. The emotional reactions of fear, anger, or frustration that might have once hijacked your focus will no longer control you. You'll find that in moments of chaos, you can step back, take a breath, and return to a place of clarity and control. The calmness you've practiced in peaceful moments becomes your anchor in the storm, one that you can rely on when the world feels like it's spinning out of control. When we face stress, our natural response is often to see it as something to avoid, something threatening. We're wired to view stress as an enemy, something to fight or flee from. But this perception, this instinctual reaction, is where many of us go wrong. Stress, in its essence, is not inherently harmful. In fact, stress is a tool, a signal, and yes, even an opportunity. When we begin to reframe our relationship with stress, we shift from a place of fear to a place of empowerment. We stop viewing stress as a threat to our well-being and instead see it as a challenge that we can rise to meet. The key to managing stress isn't about eliminating it from our lives, because that's simply not realistic. Stress is everywhere. It's in our relationships, our jobs, our finances. It's part of the human experience. But it is how we perceive stress that ultimately dictates whether it becomes destructive or constructive. When you change your mindset from fearing stress to embracing it as a signal of growth, you tap into a powerful source of motivation. You no longer feel controlled by stress. Instead, you learn to control how you respond to it. Take a moment to think about the stress you experience. Whether it's public speaking, a difficult conversation, or the pressure of a deadline, what if instead of seeing these events as something to fear, you viewed them as opportunities to expand your capacity for resilience? What if the very presence of stress was a cue that you were on the verge of achieving something great, something that would require focus, discipline, and mental fortitude? This shift in mindset changes everything. Instead of letting the discomfort of stress take you out of the game, you learn to channel that energy into productive focus. Stress gives you the drive to act, to push beyond what's comfortable, to reach new levels of performance. It's a catalyst for growth, but only if we stop seeing it as a problem to avoid. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies have shown that when we reframe stress as something we can handle, rather than something that's going to overwhelm us, our brain stress response is less intense, and we're better able to stay focused and calm. The key here is perception. When you approach stress with a mindset of opportunity, you unlock the ability to thrive, not just survive. It's not about eradicating stress from your life. It's about transforming your relationship with it so that you can leverage it for your growth, your clarity, and your success. When stress hits, one of the most common reactions is to get swept up in it. mentally, emotionally, and physically. We begin to spiral into thoughts of what's wrong, what could go wrong, and the things we can't control. This is where many of us lose our footing because we get lost in the storm, focusing more on the uncertainty and chaos around us than on the present moment. But this is where the true power lies, the ability to ground yourself in the present, to shift your focus away from what you cannot change and back to what you can control is an essential skill when it comes to staying calm in any situation. The human mind is like a spotlight. It can only focus on one thing at a time, but it has an incredible capacity to zoom in and amplify whatever it chooses to focus on. And when stress arrives, that spotlight often shines brightest on the problem, the fear, or the uncertainty. The more we focus on these stressors, the larger they seem. It's like looking at a small crack in a wall under a magnifying glass. You zoom in on it so much that it appears far more significant than it actually is. This is why it's so critical to practice redirecting your focus. You don't have to eliminate the stressor, but you can choose where you direct your attention. When you begin to shift your attention away from the perceived threat and focus on the task at hand, your brain recalibrates. Instead of amplifying the stress, it focuses on what you can do in that moment to handle the situation with clarity and efficiency. For example, if you're facing a challenging conversation, instead of dwelling on your anxiety or fear of how the conversation might go, focus on your breath, on the intention behind your words, on staying present. This subtle shift can help you regain control over the situation and your emotional state. This process of focus realignment doesn't happen automatically. It requires practice. One of the best ways to train your ability to refocus is through simple mindfulness exercises. By practicing mindfulness in less stressful, everyday situations, you train your brain to return to the present moment when stress strikes. The more you practice bringing your attention to the here and now, whether through focused breathing, observing your thoughts without judgment, or simply noticing the sensations in your body, the easier it becomes to refocus when stress threatens to overwhelm you. What's fascinating is that this practice of focusing on the present doesn't just reduce stress in the moment. It also strengthens the brain over time. Studies show that mindfulness and focused attention can physically alter the brain, enhancing areas associated with emotional regulation, decision making, and resilience. So, when you make the effort to stay present, you're not just calming yourself in that moment, you're actively rewiring your brain to handle future stress more effectively. The idea that we can simply switch off stress when it arises is unrealistic. Stress is a natural, ingrained part of the human experience, and to believe that we can completely eliminate it is a setup for failure. Instead, the key is consistency. Just as you wouldn't expect to run a marathon without months of training, you can't expect to stay calm and collected during a high-pressure situation if you haven't been actively building your mental resilience over time. The foundation of your ability to stay calm in chaos is not built in the heat of the moment. It's built long before the pressure mounts. Every day presents opportunities, however small, to train your mind. Whether it's resisting the urge to check your phone immediately upon waking up, choosing to stay grounded in your thoughts during a difficult conversation, or using moments of idle time to focus on your breath, these daily practices add up. The more consistent you are with these small efforts, the more you are laying the groundwork for staying calm when the stakes are high. Consistency in practice isn't just about repetition. It's about developing neural pathways that enable you to respond with clarity, not reaction. The more often you engage in techniques like deep breathing, mindfulness, or even simple exercises in focus, the more these practices become ingrained in your brain. Over time, they become automatic responses. Just like muscle memory helps athletes perform under pressure, your mind, trained through consistent effort, begins to default to calmness instead of panic when stress arises. In fact, science shows that repeated mental practice can physically rewire the brain. This phenomenon, known as neuroplasticity, means that the more you practice staying calm, the stronger your brain becomes at regulating your emotions. Areas of the brain involved in self-control and emotional regulation, such as the prefrontal cortex, become more efficient and active. So, with consistent effort, you can actually change the structure of your brain to better handle stress. But here's where it gets even more interesting. It's not just the high-stakes moments that matter, the low-stress. Everyday situations are where you have the opportunity to practice without the pressure. Every time you choose to stay calm when things are going smoothly, you're reinforcing the neural pathways that will serve you when life throws its challenges your way. It's in those quiet moments that your resilience is built. And the more you build it, the more you'll be able to tap into it when the storm comes. Over time, you will find that staying calm under pressure is no longer a rare occurrence, but a natural default state. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is that you cannot control everything around you. The external world, with its unpredictable challenges and constant flow of events, is simply not within your control. The economy fluctuates, people make decisions that impact you, and things go wrong in ways you never anticipated. But here's the good news. You do have control over how you respond to everything that happens around you. Your mind, your thoughts, and ultimately, your reactions are within your power to manage. This distinction is fundamental in building a mindset that allows you to stay calm in any situation. When stress strikes, we often feel like everything is falling apart or spiraling beyond our reach. This is when we become overwhelmed because we mistakenly think we have to control everything to feel safe and secure. We feel that if we can just solve the problem, fix the situation, or change the behavior of others, then everything will be okay. The reality is that we can't control what happens externally, but we can control how we interpret and react to it. This is where mental flexibility comes into play. In stressful situations, you have two choices. You can try to control the uncontrollable, or you can choose to focus on what you can control, your mind, your attitude, and your actions. When you focus on your own response rather than obsessing over what you can't change, you free yourself from the mental and emotional weight that comes with feeling helpless. For instance, consider a situation where a colleague or a loved one says something hurtful. You can't control what they say, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to react with anger or frustration, or you can take a deep breath, pause, and decide to respond with empathy and understanding. This choice may seem small, but the ability to control your emotional response in the moment is what ultimately enables you to stay grounded. Over time, as you practice this mindset, you'll begin to notice that your mental state remains far more stable in the face of stress. When you stop focusing on changing things that are beyond your control, you start to reclaim your power. This is a key element of emotional regulation. You are not a victim of your circumstances. Instead, you become an active participant in how you engage with the world. The more you train yourself to focus on your responses, the less power external events will have over your emotional state. One of the most profound misconceptions about calmness is that it's a sign of weakness or passivity. In fact, it's the opposite. The ability to stay calm in the face of adversity, to maintain a sense of composure when the pressure is on, is one of the greatest demonstrations of strength and mental fortitude. Calmness is not about suppressing your emotions or avoiding discomfort. It's about having the resilience to face those emotions head on without being overwhelmed by them. Think about the most successful people you know, whether in business, sports, or any high-pressure field. What separates those who thrive under stress from those who falter isn't an absence of fear or anxiety, but their ability to stay calm in the face of it. When the stakes are high and emotions are running wild, it is those who can retain control over their thoughts and actions who rise to the occasion. This kind of calmness doesn't come from ignoring the stress or trying to push it away. Rather, it's about facing it, acknowledging it, and then deciding to act in a measured and thoughtful way, regardless of the chaos around you. When you are calm, you gain access to your best problem-solving abilities. Stress tends to cloud our thinking, narrow our focus, and lead us to make rash decisions. In contrast, calmness opens up cognitive space and allows us to view situations with clarity and perspective. It enhances your ability to think strategically, make better decisions, and ultimately respond more effectively. By staying calm, you stay sharp. Your emotional state no longer becomes a hindrance to your performance. Moreover, calmness in the face of stress creates a sense of control. When you remain calm, even if just for a few moments, you reassert command over the situation and your internal state. This is a true form of power, not the kind that comes from force or aggression, but the kind that arises from having mastery over your own mind and emotions. The strength that comes from calmness isn't about being unfeeling or detached. It's about being able to face the intensity of emotions, accept them, and still move forward with intention and purpose. This level of emotional control, this quiet strength, creates a profound sense of confidence. You know that no matter what happens, you can handle it. You can remain calm, think clearly, and execute effectively. It's not about being free from stress or emotion. It's about being so well practiced in staying calm that even in the storm, you can stand firm. Calmness is not something you're born with. It's a skill that can be developed over time. Like any skill, whether it's playing an instrument, running a marathon, or mastering a new language, staying calm requires consistent practice. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. At first, it might feel difficult, even unnatural, but over time, your brain starts to shift. Instead of being overwhelmed by stress, your brain begins to default to a state of calm when challenges arise. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes deliberate, consistent effort, but once you start, the results compound. The science behind this process lies in neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on the experiences it has. The more you practice staying calm, the more you strengthen the neural pathways associated with emotional regulation, resilience, and focused attention. Just like a muscle that gets stronger with repetition, your brain becomes more adept at remaining calm under pressure the more you engage in these practices. There are specific techniques that accelerate this process. Mindfulness and meditation are excellent ways to train your brain to stay calm. These practices encourage you to focus your attention on the present moment without judgment and to return to that focus whenever your mind drifts. Over time, this rewires the brain, improving its ability to regulate emotions and reducing the brain's tendency to be overwhelmed by stress. Deep breathing exercises, particularly those that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, also play a critical role. By regularly engaging in deep, slow breathing, you teach your brain to respond to stress by down-regulating the fight or flight response, allowing you to remain focused and calm in high-pressure situations. But the key here is consistency. It's not about having perfect control every time stress arises, but about developing the habit of practicing calmness regularly, even in moments when there's no immediate stress. The more you consciously practice staying calm in your everyday life, the more your brain learns how to default to calmness when a real challenge comes your way. Over time, this habitual calmness becomes your natural response, and your brain is no longer hijacked by stress or overwhelm. As your brain becomes more adept at managing stress, the benefits extend beyond just your emotional state. This calmness positively impacts your decision-making, your relationships, and even your physical health. When your mind is trained to stay calm, you can think more clearly and make better choices and navigate even the most chaotic situations with greater ease and confidence. One of the most essential aspects of remaining calm under pressure is the ability to build emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from difficult situations, to face challenges without being completely overwhelmed by them, and to adapt to adversity in a way that enables you to maintain your mental and emotional balance. But here's the truth. Resilience isn't something you have or don't have. It's something you cultivate day in and day out through consistent practice, self-awareness, and mindset shifts. The more resilient you become, the less likely stress will have a paralyzing effect on you. The key to building emotional resilience is learning how to regulate your emotions rather than suppress them. Suppressing emotions can be harmful because it creates internal tension and eventually leads to burnout or emotional outbursts. Emotional regulation, on the other hand, is the process of recognizing and acknowledging your emotions without letting them control your behavior. When you recognize that emotions like anger, frustration, or anxiety are simply natural reactions to stressors, you start to gain power over them. You don't need to eliminate these feelings. Instead, you learn to experience them without allowing them to dominate your actions or thinking. Research has shown that emotional regulation is a skill that can be developed through mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and awareness practices. By regularly practicing mindfulness, you increase your awareness of your emotional responses in real time, which gives you the space to pause and choose your reactions. This means that when stress arises, you don't immediately react impulsively. Instead, you observe your emotional state, take a breath, and then choose how to respond in a way that serves your long-term well-being. Building emotional resilience also involves embracing failure and discomfort. Resilient people don't shy away from difficult situations. They face them head on and learn from the experience. Each time you encounter stress, disappointment, or a failure, you have an opportunity to grow. The challenge is to shift your mindset from